Okay, so this is tutorial 2 on making your name. We're now going to add a border to this, and in order to add that border, we're going to go to Image, Canvas Size, not Image Size. I need to make sure that Relative is checked, and I'm going to add 3 inches to each side. The reason I chose 3 inches is because I have a 31 inch by 10 inch image, and 3 inches is going to work. You're going to have to decide what works for your image. The second part is I'm going to choose a color. That's either going to be black or white. In this case, I'm choosing black. I mean, I guess you could use a gray, but you'd have to be careful with that. I hit OK, and I've added a 3-inch border going around the image. Okay. At this point, I want to add a separation to the back of my image. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to choose all 4 layers that have my letters on them. Then I'm going to right click and I'm going to merge those layers. That way I don't have to deal with them individually anymore. Now if you haven't made all of the edits to those images yet, you're not going to want to do that. But that just makes it so that I can take this and I can move this around easier. Okay, you can see that I have this white blotch in the middle, that type of thing. It makes life easier in the long run. Okay, so at this point, I'm going to add another layer. And when I add this layer, there we go. I'm going to leave it on top to begin with. I'm going to select the rectangular marquee tool. And I'm going to create a small sub border. I make the border. And then if I need to move this, I can just use the arrows keys. At this point, I'm going to shut off my layer with all my images on it. And I'm going to just show you a few things. So in this case, I'm just going to flood fill it. Okay. Now when I turn back on the layer and move it to the top and deselect, it works, but see how over in the E you can't really see the border. So I'm going to undo that. But instead on this layer, and again I'm making sure that I go back to layer 5, I'm going to use a gradient. So I'm going to pull that gradient across. It's black on this side. Well, that's not what I wanted. I wanted black on this side. So of course, if I just reverse that, I now get the black on that side, and I can do other things with the gradient up top if I want. At this point, then I turn it back on, turn my layer back on, and then move my layers around. And in this case, now I can see that a little bit better. I'm not sure if it worked as well as I'd like. I'm going to edit this one more time, but I'm just going to leave it on layer 5. And instead of doing black, I'm going to do a gradient between a gray and a white. Wow, that was a complete failure, so we're not going to do that. And the reason that didn't work was because I didn't have it selected. So I'm going to Control-Alt-Z until I have my selection. Go across again. There we go. Control-D. Okay, that worked because now I can see my entire border. The last thing that I have to do with my border, and you're required to do so, is you need to add some sort of interesting pattern along the outside. Now you're going to do this by making a new brush. And again, to make that new brush, you can watch the brush tutorial. But to simplify with this one, I want to do film, as in like film for cameras. So I'm going to open up a new tab, and I'm going to type in camera film. Let's just do camera film. Search for images. Okay, I want to do this one, I think. So I'm going to open that. Ooh, I got all kinds of interesting things. Let's go with this one. So I'm going to right click. I'm going to copy that image. Go back here. I need to go File, New. Wait for a minute. There we go. And in this case, I'm going to hit Clipboard. You're just going to hit OK or Create. Okay, it comes up. I'm going to hit Control-V. Now I have this located in here. At this point, I am now going to use my selection tool, my magic wand. I'm going to select the white, holding shift to make sure that I select all the white. Okay. Then I'm going to select the inverse because I want the film selected. Then I'm going to go to Edit, Define Brush Preset. And you can see that I have film located up there. I'm going to hit OK. I no longer require this. I can close it, I hope. Okay, so now I want to go to my background layer because this is the only one that I'm going to work on. And I'm going to go to my brushes. And now you're going to note that the last brush is that film. And there it is. So now when I click on the background, I end up with that film. Ugh. Okay, first of all, it's too small. Sorry about that. It's too small. So I'm going to undo that. I'm going to make it a lot larger. Okay, not that much larger. That looks better. And I'm going to add that in the background. I can do that. That looks okay. I can also undo that. And I can click once, but then I can go up to my brush palette, which was located up here, and I'm going to twist the angle of that a little bit, and then close it. So now it's just turned in a different direction. And then I can open up my brush palette again. Let's try twisting it up there. And that looks okay. I think that there are some more things that I can do with it, but that would certainly be acceptable. One of the other things that I could do with the background layer is I could duplicate that layer, and then I could select all of it, and then I could go to Image, Adjustments, Invert, and see, does that look better? I kind of like that in a way. So you have to use a brush that you've made. You must create a border and make sure that everything's properly exposed. I guess the last thing I would do to finish this off, I hate to say it, but I would go to Layer. I would flatten my image, which, remember, takes all the layers and puts them together. And then I'm going to go to Image, Canvas Size, and I'm going to add another 2-inch black border around this thing because I like the look of that. And wow, okay, this thing's huge. Okay, at this point I have a massive image. The last thing that you really need to do now, you certainly don't want to delete your Photoshop versions, and you'd want to save this as a different file. But I'm going to go to Image, Image Size, and wow, at this point it's 15 inches high. I'm going to take that and let's put that down to the width of a sheet of paper. But I need to make sure that my proportions are constrained. I'm going to change that down to 8 inches for height. There's no reason to have a resolution at 300. I'm just trying to shrink this file. So I'm going to go to 180 and I'm going to hit OK. Much smaller file, I'll be able to work with it a lot easier. And then you're going to print this out to be turned in. All right.